Hey, beautiful people. It is 10:54 a.m. on August the 27th, 2014. I tried to do a video in the park earlier and found out my computer battery is probably on its way out. And I got about 20 minutes into what usually I could do for about an hour and a half, and my battery kicked out right in the middle of a video that I was trying to explain all the magnetics that's going on right now. Uh, it was doing a pretty cool job. It was just a great flow coming through, and then all of a sudden my computer screen went blank, and I was like, "That's strange." It went to sleep, and I've been rolling my mouse around and everything, and it shouldn't do that. And I looked down, and it was my battery that had gone out after I had left with 100% charge. It's all about magnetics, and hello to you all. I'm having a nice little cup of miso soup as I do this video this morning. I have to say, what incredible energies. It is very wonderful. We've had a super quiet sun for a month now, and with that, there was a lot. It was almost like being in a spiritual pressure cooker. And it seems like whenever we do have a lot of magnetics and CMEs and solar winds and stuff, that comes and can blast out a lot of the impurities that's bubbling up to the surface as we go through this collective and global ascension process. Each and every one of us have got our stuff that we have to clean out and clear, our thoughts and our perceptions, those magnetics, the resistance that is really that which inhibits the flow of energy within ourselves as we increase in vibrations. It's all about magnetics. It's all about energetic flow. Negativity is our own personal resistance to that energetic flow. Many times it can build up in physical symptoms within our own bodies, and sometimes we that happens when we're moving the energies for Mother Earth or I'm an earth keeper. I do a lot of vortex work as being a gatekeeper and a holder of the energies. And many times, as I'm working with vortexes, persons who are not awake and aware are holding lower astral vibrations when they come into the energy vortexes, earth vortexes. Their auric field will deposit those lower vibrations in exchange for higher vibrations that are of that vortex. And those of us that do Earthkeeper or Gatekeeper work many times exchange that. We remove the resistance that has been deposited there by other individuals that have come near those sites, come near those vortexes. As we're going through our ascension process, we individually are becoming those vortexes. It's just like activating your heart chakra. When you activate your heart chakra, you're generating that vortex. As you go through and you activate all the other chakras, they become each little energy nuclear power plant within the physical vessel. And in the seventh initiation, they expand 7 times to outside body. They go vertical. The ascension column is activated. And when the ascension chakra and the ascension column is activated, then the next level is becoming that the generator, the individual ascending being, ascending master, is becoming the generator of the light magnetics that's coming. But that does not mean that we're not affected from the outside. Of course we are. Spring of 2014, about 5 months now, at the equinox, and as I was going back to Mississippi, my messages were quite clear that we were going through a multi-versal Ascension initiation. At that time, I had no clue what I was getting ready to experience. In fact, I thought I was on my way to Peru. And here I am back in Florida where I just left from, just in a different place. And I had to go to Mississippi for a while, and do some things, and really clear up some ancestral karma, ancestral magnetics, and allow those energies to be shaken and unlocked and released and to flow out. It's interesting when we look at everything that's going on cosmically, including coming up on the galactic plane, which we just hit the bottom of that galactic plane in December, at the winter solstice of 2010. We hit the bottom of the galactic plane, and then 12, 12, 12, and 12, 21, 2012, we hit the middle of it, and then we'll be coming out of it in another couple of years. And we'll be going into a whole new, different polarity. And it is this 7-year cycle we call the tribulation, or the change from the old age to the new age, as we're coming up and down doing our frequencies around, our dance around the galactic plane, our dance around the Pleiades, our dance around Sirius. As we're doing these dances, we're changing our experience every time we change our magnetics. Everything is fractalized. At the highest level of anything, it's magnetics. And then those magnetics, once they slow in vibration, become defined consciousness, something you can put a concept to, and words to, and describe. Then that is slowed down out of the consciousness into the light. We see the consciousness, the light we see, slow down into sound. Light slow down into sound. And you can describe what's going on in that consciousness and that light that you're seeing. Top level, it's all just magnetics. The lower level, it's this 3D thing that is a hologram. It's an illusion, but it's real. And it's changed by how we feel and how we perceive things. And right now, we are, oh wow, I got a little bitty fly that's decided to get my miso soup. A little protein. See, I eat animals. Huh. Insects. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. We have these, we have the ability to change and manipulate and guide and flow, or even control energies through the magnetics that we feel. We can alter illusion that we experience as life, even though there are many other people on this planet, and we can have easy experiences or we can have difficult experiences. It's all in how we feel about it. The more we think about something, the more we get into that duality of the brain, and we actually many times can create resistance to the energetic flows of that which we really would love to manifest and experience in our life. That's why it's so critical when one gets into higher vibrations to have control over his thoughts and emotions, so that he can have control over his manifestations and the experience that that ascending master is having, as well as control over our manifestations, because we literally are manifesting on an incredible level. We think of ourselves as being these little beings that's in this body, and when we identify with that, we're really playing in our ego linear state, because we're such great balls of energy at the highest level. We're prime creator. And we slow down into, the experience of the eternal that created this creation, which is called Metatron, Lord Metatron. And then Lord Metatron had fractalized itself out into different aspects called the archangels, which fractalized down into the angels, which fractalized down into light beings, which is fractalized down into our temporal selves that we experience as individual temporal lifetimes in. But that's the temporal lifetimes is not who we are. Nor really is just the light being, because that's only one various aspect of our higher dimensional selves. It's all about magnetics. Everything is polarized, and when to be in this existence, you have to have a polar opposite. You have source, and then you have the experience of whoever the consciousness is having that experience. You have the vibration of source, and then that which is the chosen experience, that is the individual consciousness. And as the two fields, the field of all that is and the field of the experience that the individual consciousness is perceiving itself as overlays, then you have the experience of escapisces. Magnetics. Everything has magnetics. There can be no zero, but there is more than one. There's one that is all that is, and everything else is just is individual consciousness having experiences, so that all that is can have an experience. And that's what life's all about. Right now, we're completing the duality experiment, and we're returning back to the energy and the oneness that we are, and we're going back having experienced a total separation from source, perceived total separation from source, and there's no way that we can ever be separated from source, but we're going back into that oneness. But we're doing it in physical vessels. And we basically, what's happening is the Earth's magnetosphere, the magnetic field around Earth, collapses. It's allowing higher vibrations to come in. This is occurring because of our arrival at the galactic plane, and those 7 years of change or tribulation or adjustment from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age. It's all changing because of that. And what's happening is we are changing polarities, we are changing magnetics, we are changing the intent of the experience and what we have been experiencing into something new. And that is slowed magnetics into a dream. For any experience to be experienced, first there has to be the dream. And the dream even comes before the divine plan in the consciousness that polarizes and creates the magnetics, that is slowed down into the vision of how that consciousness looks, how it all works, that slows down into sound, that is slowed down into the material plane where we can have the experience and play it out as the drama. And right now we're having a really, really big drama. The collapsing of Earth's magnetic field is allowing higher vibrations to come in, and the higher vibrations is purifying what's going on. The magnetic field was like a quarantine. It was like being on the Starship Enterprise and the Klingons are coming after us, and they just fired a photon torpedo and we got shields up. Well, that magnetosphere is like shields up, and right now we got shields down. And the shields down allows a flow of energy and a flow of communication and the ability to work more directly with the spiritual levels, the vibrations, the light, the consciousness, the divine plan, other aspects of self elsewhere in the universe, our higher selves. And we're, with the magnetosphere down and that magnetic field down, with the shields down, we've removed a quarantine that has kept us in place. And that quarantine even goes into the astral levels. You've heard many times people speaking that third and fourth dimension are going away. Well, as that Earth's magnetosphere, which kept the astral levels in check, when somebody would drop body, then that soul would be contained within that magnetosphere, very much like if you ever watched Ghostbusters, you know, when they caught a ghost, they put it in a magnetic field that contained that, so the ghost couldn't go anyplace. Well, that was what the magnetosphere around Earth was doing. And when it collapsed, it's allowing for the astral to go away and all the fourth dimensional entities. And when I say astral, I'm more talking about the individual consciousness that are playing upon the astral plane, that are not of the highest vibrations at this time. It's almost like a purgatory. You know, the Catholic Church for years said, you know, if you didn't pay them, you'd be hanging in purgatory until you could go to heaven. And this was, you know, you had to pay them to get out of purgatory and go to heaven. Well, purgatory was kind of like the contained magnetosphere that kept the astral entities here since the fall of Atlantis, since we had this quarantine and containment again. And right now we're coming out of that, and the magnetosphere is collapsing because of the lack of solar activity and the lack of supersolar flaring, which, as those flares, as the cosmic rays hits the sun steps down the energies and bursts out flares and CMEs to send out throughout the electromagnetic solar system that changes and alters frequencies that are incoming to the planets in all life forms and consciousness upon that planet or within the magnetic field of the sun. And then each different planet has its own magnetic fields, and each different part of the planet has its own vibrational levels of consciousness and understanding. And then we each have our own. And then we integrate with families or friends that have their own. And then we do things that are whatever the experience is that has its own frequencies. It's all about those magnetics. And that's really how all this works. But to go through this collective ascension process, and to change the magnetics, we've had to collapse the magnetosphere around Earth, remove a quarantine that kept us from receiving the higher vibrations. And as those higher vibrations do come in, it's like a spiritual fire purification that's going on within our soul, or our physical beings even. See, the magnetics of your karma is located within the atomic structure between the atoms and electrons at that quantum level within your body. And as we vibrate faster, anything that vibrates at a lower speed or is resistance or karmic, it gets purified and released, and that goes up through our cellular structure and then into our organ structure and And that's what we call ascension symptoms. As we're raising our frequencies, all those densities, it's not just about the foods we eat, it's about our perceptions, it's about our feelings, it's the magnetics we hold. And all of that has to get purified. And so many of us want the magic, and that magic is an instant manifestation, materialization of the energies that are within our field. We want to become magicians. We want to be able to be master creators. But in order to safely handle those levels of light and frequency and higher vibrations, there's a built-in mechanism that we have called Ascension and Ascension initiations that is a purification of all the resistance and negativities that has to go, so that we understand how carefully and sequentially how manifestation and materialization in magnetics works in this hologram that we're experiencing. Because it's like giving a little kid that wants to play with firecrackers a stick of dynamite. I would have had a great time. but that can be pretty dangerous, We used to take M80s and put them in mailboxes and watch them blow. Well, an M80 is just a small part of a stick of dynamite. Stick of dynamite could be pretty dangerous. So we have to learn how to handle these spiritual explosives. That's what the ascension process is all about. That's why it goes down in various levels. We have to clear up our own magnetics first within ourselves. That separation from source, that how we perceive other individuals and events going on in our experience, how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive even things that we've thought in the head, ego, of as negative and not good experiences. They did this to me. That victimization has to be cleaned up before you can really raise your levels of light and frequency and get into those levels of more instant manifestation, going to materialization. Because if you still held on to any of the darkness and the resistance and the upsets about your experience, as you're raising your frequency and levels of light and obtaining that more quicker magic that's happening as we do this, if you were not very careful in what you were doing, then you would be sending out the magnetics that could hurt others or even yourself. I mean, really right now, everything seems to be hitting the field and coming right back at us. So it's really, oh my God, there's two raptors flying. Can't hear them yet, but they're flying right outside my window. Those are the F-22 Raptors. I'm right above Tyndall Air Force Base. And until yesterday, they hadn't been flying around in a while. But they're going over again today. Kim had told me that they're trying to get their flight hours in before the end of the month, which makes a lot of sense. Anyway, we've got to clean up these magnetics. We cannot come into our God selves and be wanting to play war games like that and destroying other people. Can you imagine if you gave these guys that are so wanting to fight, oh man, there's a really cool cloud going over with a little spiral going into it, coming off. It's like a straight line with a big spiral going off of it. And that's really a good representation of what we are all experiencing right now. Linear with that spiral of the energies going into something new. Changing, clarity, shifting out. If 4D astral is really going away, and 4D is a level where the individual is not yet into its mastery, and generating those levels of light, gone through their purification process so they can handle those levels of light and frequency in their physical vessel. If you give levels of power to somebody that's still playing in the duality and the us and them and the war games, and either fighting out of religion or fighting out of perspective and principle, seeing everything on the outside as being wrong, and they've got to correct it with their violence or their domination or all the patriarchal crap that we've gone through for the past many thousands of years since the fall of Atlantis. If you gave those levels of light to individuals still playing that game, then we could destroy this whole universe. And that's kind of why that's exactly why the duality experiment got contained in this outer realm of this galaxy, in this solar system, and in those levels of magnetics, so that we could go through this process, completing out the duality experiment, and not keep on destroying other parts of this galaxy and other galaxies and other civilizations and other dimensions. Because as we start popping off nuclear bombs, those little mushroom crowds create wormholes that go into other areas and do mega damage, kind of like a tornado does. Wormholes. That's a good miso soup. Anyway, where am I? We're at 26 minutes into this. 26:11 is on the down, of course. As we were going through this process, we've got a collapse of Earth's magnetic field, Earth's magnetosphere, and it's allowing the higher vibrations to come in, that's the spiritual fires under our ass that allows for the purification, so that we can step into our master creative self beings. And we've got to purify ourselves so we can get to those levels. And as we do that, all the sludge, all the negativity, all the crap, all that stuff that we just don't really want to see within ourselves has to come up and out and be purified. But it's not just within ourselves, it's within our society, it's within our governments, it's within our local culture, our regional culture, our national culture, or even our global. And that's part of why we're seeing so many wars and things going on out there. Is all the karma, all the magnetics has to complete itself. We created this. We created the experience. We wanted to experience the separation and duality, and find out what it's like to be totally separate from source. And now we're going back home. We're going back to integrate with Prime Creator while in the physical vessels. We're reintegrating with our various dimensional levels of higher self. My next one being light being, or Turian. The next above that, angelic self, Mana Ra. The next above that, the flavor of Archangel Michael, which I am. Next above that, Metatron. And the next above that, Prime Creator. A year ago now, and we each have our different missions of what we do on the planet, working together collectively as a transmission to ascend the multiverse. We each walk around in our own individual universes. Every bit of consciousness has its own universe. I don't care what it is. An atom is its own universe. And you change that atom, and you change its universe, and you change this universe, and you change the multiverse. Well, we're ascending this multiverse, and we do that by changing the atomic structure within ourselves, by purifying ourselves, by changing our thoughts and perceptions and how we understand how all this works. And one of the coolest things, and one of my oldest memories in this life, and I remember it as a memory as a child, but then I never really heard it again until Solara had mentioned it when she was gathering us together for opening the 1111 doorway in 1992, was that we could return home. We could reconnect with Source, with Prime Creator. That's something many of us have always dreamt of. Those of us on the spiritual path, or who have, even ascended before from Earth School. Earth ascended Melchizedek. Everybody on this planet's Melchizedek. Everybody on this planet's an ascended being already. They just have a veil over it that keeps them from remembering who they are, that keeps them from integrating with their higher levels of self. And that was what the quarantine's all about. Right now, everybody's going, something's weird's happening. And that's because they're starting to integrate, and their higher levels of self is talking to them and saying, hey, you're here for the Ascension, people. You got to change your thoughts, your perceptions. You got to raise your frequency and hold more light. And you got to go through this process. That's what you're here there. That's what you're on Earth School and in duality for. Most people don't realize that they're great ambassadors representing civilizations all over the cosmos, because not everybody from that civilization can come here and be in the duality experiment. So the civilizations that they are ambassadors of, because each and every person on this planet is the toughest of the tough, the greatest ascended being from the civilization they're representing, here in Earth School to play this drama out. And as they are having their duality experiences, the whole civilization is watching through their eyes, going through the ascension process by watching the duality experiment going on of the individual who's their representative. And we're all doing this together. And that's the coolest thing, because everybody on this planet's already an ascended being. And ascension is the reintegration with the higher levels of self, and the raising of the light quotient and frequency that is those higher levels of spiritual self, and bringing it in as much as possible into this physical vessel, and bringing heaven to earth, and then regrouping for a new experience. And the collapsing of the magnetic field, the cosmic rays coming from the galactic center, and the photon belt from Sirius B are all those higher vibrations that's allowing the process to flow. There's a whole lot of stuff going on out there. Really, there's no out there. It's all in here. Yes, there's an out there. Yes, the hologram is very real. But yes, it's a hologram. Yes, we change it. That's what timelines are all about. That's what anything that possibly can be thought of is various timelines. That's an experience that's playing out. Now, where we are in these physical bodysuits, and where we choose to be is a personal free will choice. But we're all going through the ascension process. We're all reintegrating with those higher levels of self. We're all working together. We're all playing out in whatever timeline that we are experiencing. And as master creators, we're choosing where we choose to be. It does not mean it's going to look pretty out there. Right now, it's looking rather crazy. I mean, I'm seeing Ebola scares, and now that we had, the CMEs, solar flares kicking up again, the sun is, this past month, the sun was asleep, and it felt like we were in a spiritual pressure cooker, and like we were contained, but the pressure was building, and it was being felt even physically within our own vessels, our own bodysuits. And that pressure was not relieved off the pressure cooker until the solar flares started kicking up again, and the CME started incoming, and the solar winds were kind of blasting away all of the negative resistance that's been around Earth, taking it out of the cosmos, kind of like a hurricane. A hurricane just kind of blows any debris, anything away, any trash. It just takes it all and sends it on out. It's kind of what seems like has happened the past couple of days since the sun has kicked back up, and all the purification that was going on within the pressure cooker of this past month seems to be relieving right now, coming to the surface and relieving. And as soon as I saw those solar flares go off, and I could feel it, I woke up going, man, my field is glowing. And I was telling Kim and Tom was like, well, what does that mean? I said, well, as far as it hitting my field, it raises my light quotient, my frequency. But as far as my experience of what I see out there, it stirs things up. It's going to be interesting to see what would happen in these following days. And since then, I have, it's almost like all the garbage, the impurities is rising to the top. And I told Tom, look, you're going to watch people get mad and upset and angry at each other. You're going to watch governments do strange things. You're going to watch all these magnetics, because that's what it's all about, is magnetics. You're going to watch all the magnetics get in a stirred up, chaotic situation as it breaks those old bonds and it reintegrates in a new way. And that's what this transition time is all about, is to transition us into new levels and ways of being. Basically, our dreams are that top level that's below the magnetics but above the divine consciousness, the divine plan. The dream is what do you wish to experience, and what do you wish to attract or bring into your life or create or generate for an experience. The dream is at that highest level, and then that dream is slowed down into a plan of how to make that dream work. Slowed down into the light of how you see that plan and the dream working out. Slowed down into the sound that we invoke, the magic spells that we cast to make the experience happen. And we're all doing this on a collective level. And we're generating a new experience for humanity in the collective level. And sooner or later, we're going to end up on the other side of this and in this 1,000 years of peace. And either during that or after that or before that or however it happens, and I have no clue, because we're all creating it. I just have one small part in that creation of it. I can hold magnetics for a collective, but I can't guide the collective experience. That's the collective choice. Each person is 1 in 7 billion at this time, putting its dream into the spiritual melting pot, and we paint a big picture of what the global dream is, what the collective dream is, what the universal multi-versal dream is, and the next experience is going to be. And that is kind of what's happening right now with all this crazy crap that we're seeing out there. The Ebola scares, all the wars of ISIS, or the collapse of the banking system, or all that. All this has to be shaken up. People have to say, I either want this or don't want that, or whatever. Choices have to be made in that collective dream. And persons have to feel the magnetics in which they wish to create an experience in that collective dream. And then that gets put into the pot, which makes this next stage. That's why the Bible and the holy books can't tell us what's going to happen in this 1,000 years of peace. They can't describe it. They can't describe New Earth, because we haven't collectively driven the dream. The collapse of all this and all the negativity that people sees out there that they perceive of as negativity is really a magnetic, materialized, slowed into the material form experience, so that you can decide either I do want this or I don't want that. Many times, to create something new, it's not necessarily your vision of what you do wish to create, it's the knowledge of what you don't want to create. the crap. And so So you have to know what you don't want before you can really decide what you do want. And that's part of the completion of this duality experiment and all the crap that we've been through is to see what all we've created in the polarized experience of the material states of being and what we don't want. And to dream a new dream and create new magnetics, new energy flows, new experience. It's all a dream that's slowed into material form. Some really good magnetics here that taste wonderful. Yeah, things are really getting shaken up right now. Many persons have been waiting on me to do videos for some time, and I'm going through my own stuff too. I'm also integrated with a large group of persons here in Panama City that are on all different levels, but all with such great hearts, all working their spiritual side, working their metaphysical side, working themselves through their creative mastery, and learning the process. We all go through it, and each of our processes are unique. The overall process is pretty much identical of how we create our light body, but how we get there is really that's individual. Nobody can do it for another. Nobody can really activate another. Another person can lead you into your own activation, can get you to open your heart so that later you can feel that bliss and that love inside. That is what you wish to have for your experience, and which takes you into your fifth initiation, first of your ascended mastery initiations, which is the activation of the heart chakra. It takes you into that bliss. And the process of turning the physical vessel into its light being state by chakra activation is the same with all of us. It's the story, the individual story that's unique. How we get there that's unique. How we do it. How we find those ways of connection, ways of reintegration, because that's what it is at the highest level. We're going back to where we have been before, but while in physical form. That's the unique part about this ascension initiation. This is ascension experience right now on Earth, is we've never done this before while in the physical vessel. Whenever we activated our heart chakras before, we were out of here. The frequencies of this dimension we perceive as 3 and 4D couldn't handle 5D resonance, and a master obtaining that level of frequency, holding that level of frequency, and remaining on Earth. Now, there have been many avatars like Christ or Buddha, so many others. But they came in as avatars. They weren't getting their mastery while here on the planet, which it was, which is what we're all here to do and what the collective is going to go through right now. It is interesting to see that that everybody's increasing in frequency, and how many people are really waking up and coming into instant knowingness, or really coming out of the closet and starting to speak about the messages that they'd always known, but were too afraid to speak forth because people would think you were crazy. I know how that goes. I know how being put down is, and that's not fun, but it's really cool to see now so many people awake. We've got more people awake on the planet right now that can come out and discuss these things than can be put down by the asleep, the continuing sheeples, sleeping peoples on this planet. Nothing bad meant about that, but that's really what sheeples are, is just sleeping peoples, and persons that are not choosing to realize their spiritual side, to integrate with that spiritual side, to believe that they, all this is just happening to us, and they don't really have any say so in their lives. And That's what Ascension is the mastery of that, the taking back of that, the becoming the conscious creator that we are, understanding how magnetics works, how the thought, how the vision, how the speech, how the intent makes the manifestation. Gatekeepers are those ascending masters in physical form that are consciously choosing to channel the energies of the higher levels, the encodings, bringing them into Earth, and to release the lower vibrations, because it's always an exchange. You have higher energy coming in. Now that the quarantine, the magnetosphere has been lifted, you have higher energies coming in, and it goes out to purify and release the lower resistance and energies going back out, negativity. Gatekeepers and earth keepers are ones that do that work. There's many different types of earth keepers, but really gatekeepers that's kind of specific. we channel higher encodings and frequencies coming out, and then the lower comes off of our field and back up. Some of us allow it to come off the field. Sometimes it comes through the field. Sometimes when we're working with others on healing, we take on the pains and experience of the other being. And that goes back into what I'm doing here in Panama City with Kim Fuller and Tom Miller. And God, such wonderful team here in Panama City. Tom, when I left Mississippi to come over here, I came over to work on a wind turbine project. I wanted to 3D print, and I needed help with the electronic circuitry of it. I know electricity, and I know how to construct electronics, but electrical engineering is not one of my fields, and Tom was an electrical engineer. Well, anyway, when I got over here, he knows well about Ascension. He's a remote viewer, and he as we were working together, he was releasing experiences that he's had within this life and that are contained within his field of being in the military and things that he's done in the processing. We all do. And his was pretty in-depth processing. And one of the things that he said, and this is why you really, really have to go through your ascension initiations in a very careful way, removing resistance and understanding the magnetics of how creation works in a very incremental way, so that you don't do damage as you hold higher and higher levels of light. Because our words speak law. Our thought, our emotion, our vision, our feelings literally generates the experience. And right now we're here about mastery of the experience. Tom had stated that he wanted to clear the karma in the history for all soldiers of all time. Literally, the very next day, he got stung by yellow flies and went into what seemingly was a stroke, where seemingly the left brain shut down, had the stroke, which caused the right patriarchal side. The left analytical egotistical brain shut down, which caused the right trigger finger constructor papa spanking side to shut down. And it's kind of interesting, because if soldiers can't be soldiers, how can they make their living? Many of the soldiers that I know didn't decide they wanted to be soldiers to go out and kill people, but they decided that that's what they wanted to do because they had a family to support and needed to make money, and there wasn't a whole lot else to make money other than playing soldier. And so if you take away the war games from these soldiers, what the heck are they gonna do? That's gonna really influence them financially, their ability to support themselves and their family. Interesting thing, because we all work on fractals and we all work with energy and magnetics. What happened to me is, for the first time in many years, and I'm talking since the end of 2011, first of 2012, I had physical sensation, physical issues. I hadn't had my back having issues since the Gulf oil spill. And I was trying to leave the Gulf, Mississippi Gulf Coast, because there's a methane bubble at the bottom where, that oil head was spewing out all the methane and the oil in Deepwater Horizon. And there was this large puddle of methane, reservoir of methane, that was at the bottom of the Gulf that they were using HARP, trying to, our partners in contrast, our other side, me, trying to vibrate that bubble to bring it to pop, bring it to the surface, and ignite it, and boom, and really do some major damage around the planet. Well, I wanted to leave the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and instantaneously my back went out, and my back was out. That would not allow me to leave until after that the wellhead was capped and all that threat was over with. Did I create it? I'm sure I did. But it is rather interesting that when Tom was going through his process in ICU, as I'm doing this move, because we had to move Kim and Tom out of the apartment they were in, beautiful place on the lake that she saw me doing the last videos, into this house. And I was very concerned about what Tom was going through. And in clearing for all soldiers of all time, and my L3 went out. Well, the L3 is directly related to financial stability. Interesting, he wanted to clear for all soldiers of all time, and then that is an experience. I'm here to ascend the collective of humanity, Mother Earth, by ascending myself and holding the frequencies steady, like I have been for a year now. Being that gyroscope of Earth, holding the magnetic frequency steady for the collective. Ever since Malene and I went through that Metatronic initiation that's on video, you can see the encodings and the streams coming down around me. Well, I've been receiving that ever since. I've been working from Prime Creator down through Metatron, down through my archangelic self, my angelic self, Bill Ballard, in that wormhole of between ever since. Holding the downcoding, the gatekeeper, receiving those energies, that flow of the encodings for New Earth, allowing the old stuff to go out and channel back out. Those old polarities and experiences, the negativity, the resistance, to go back out. Anyway, Tom had his right arm and his right leg paralyzed in this, what seemed to be a stroke, but funny, as the MRI and CAT scans come back, there's nothing wrong up here. That's really strange. There's no dead cells. It looks totally normal. Okay, so something's going down that's on a magnetic level. It's got to reconnect so the right hand, right arm, and right leg can function properly again in a new way. He'll heal, but right now his right arm's down. Interestingly enough, as the sun quietened down, about a month ago, I was working on Tom's arms and energetics, and he was talking about how much pain that he was having. And see, Tom is like a planetary gear in my global ascension in what I do. He wanted to do this for the soldiers of all time and release the karma within that. Well, that's part of what I'm doing. Just like a planetary gear rolls inside the bigger gear, the solar cosmic gear, and what he's commanded forth and invoked was a part of my personal mission, so it locked me into working with him to make that happen. Very interesting how all this is playing out. And so anyway, Tom was having a big problem with his right hand, totally paralyzed. I mean, only now just starting to have some electrical impulses, and he can't wiggle or move it or anything like that, but he was hurting real bad, and I was working on his arm, charging it with my light, helping to reconnect inside. And he was talking about the pain. And since it was a part of my mission, I declared I would take on his pain, just like he declared he wanted to do this for all soldiers of all time. And the next morning I woke up and it was like, oh my God, I could not do this until yesterday. Interesting thing, I'm coming down to 54 minutes and a half here, so I've only got about 5 more minutes of this video. But Tom asked me to, I decided I wanted to work on him, and he allowed me to, and I said I would take on the pain, and I did. And for a month, while the sun was real quiet, man, that pain was so freaking intense. I could not do this. I could not do that. It was like, and it was exactly where he was having the pain in his own arm. And it was really cool, the experience I was having. Well, the shaman, one level of Tom's other higher experience popped through. Again, night before last, or yesterday morning, right as actually it was day before yesterday morning, right as all the M flares started popping up. And it was right at the same time. And it's so cool how all this works together, and it's all about magnetics, but it all becomes something that we experience as a personal experience, kind of like watching a movie or playing in the theater, and we're all players within it. But it's still a drama that at the highest level is nothing but magnetics. Metatron, magnetics, highest dimension, magnetics. And so anyway, I'm working on Tom's arm. It messes with me for a month. I have issues with this arm, my lower back, my left leg, incoming female energies on that side. And I'm just like, oh my God, I have no reason to be, I've got an organic diet. I am in great shape. I have not injured myself. No reason whatsoever to have pains. And I have the pains, which is energy magnetics. That's really what it is. In my physical vessel, it's because I work the energies. That's what I do. I'm a gatekeeper, earth keeper, light master, magnetics master. And so anyway, that hit me, and right as the CMEs popped off and we started having the M flares, right at the same time that the filament had burst, released the sun, and that CME was coming in. But we had the x-rays from the M flares that was going off, and we've had 4 of them since then. Along with the coronal hole stream, those magnetics came through and boom, really released the pressure off this pressure cooker that had been building this past month. And the shaman came through and was working on Tom's arm that night. Kim decided she didn't want to get it on film. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. She didn't know what was playing out. But she said that he was working on the arm, and it was very obvious. And the next morning, I wake up, and I can move again. No pain. It's like that. And I'm no more pain in my left side. I take that back. My Achilles tendon in my left leg, the divine incoming energy, feminine side, receiving side, has been an issue, and Kim's got the same problem, and Anita's got the same problem, and I'm hearing others having the same problem. It's magnetics, it's energy flow, and we're all working together, and we're all having similar experiences, and we're all working together, moving the magnetics, but we perceive it as having this physical experience, but really we're playing on those magnetic levels from our higher states of being, all in physical bodies. Get it? Isn't that cool? 58:11 as I look down. I'm down to 1 minute. It's all about magnetics, mastering magnetics. And we have to master those magnetics before we can really hold higher levels of light and frequency. Because if we don't understand how we're creating here, then with those higher levels of light, if we were just being given the mastery, then it would be like handing that little kid with firecrackers, a bunch of dynamite with fuses and blasting caps set, and telling them to go play, blow up something. And we have to learn those levels of mastery within ourselves before we can really get into those higher ascended states of beings. It's all mechanics. We're just mastering the mechanics of how physical existence is generated, and that's what's going on right now. We're really having some fantastic shifts. That looks very dark, but it has to be dark so we know what we don't want, and so each individual can make new choices as we're holding these higher frequencies and higher levels of light. And that's what's going down. I wasn't able to talk for a long time because what I'm doing is integrating with so many people, and by speaking about Kim and Tom, I involved them, and I wanted to be very hesitant about that, but we're getting ready to start doing films together. Anyway, this is the end of this video. Love y'all. Bye for now.